traits. These are very small, can be very, very tiny things that we do. But except when we aren't, because we might do that, we keep the three balanced in normal standing over the Dantian. And because it's so critical, when we do Tai Chi forms, we try and keep this feeling. It's also called middle place, when everything's balanced. And we never want to lose our middle place. I'll come back to that, center place. Sitting, releasing. Now, place your hands over the front of the lower Dantian. If I just say Dantian, it always means the lower Dantian. Otherwise, I would say middle Dantian or upper Dantian. These areas, the whole of this area, the chest, these are also called the three jowls. Don't need to know that really. Chinese medicine should be balanced, and the energy should flow through them evenly. So any collapse or leaning tenses the body and disrupts the way the organs hang in the body. They're not falling forwards or back, they're hanging correctly in the body. So anyway, totally relaxed, remember. And then breathing into Dantian. So Taoist meditation is to actually just watch this area behind the hands and watch your breath inflating and deflating, but just keeping the mind in this area. So Dantian is thought of as a reservoir of qi, energy. The reservoir needs to be full. It will be full if we are eating well, hydrating well, breathing well. And we don't drain it by not resting, too much physical activity, hard activity, draining. We shouldn't do. We can do when we're younger, but when we get to be old, we shouldn't do it. And watching here, so this idea that the reservoir, and we want to have a feeling we're allowing it to fill by relaxing inside. You know, if you had a balloon, well, a flask, then you can fill the flask, but it can't expand because it's hard. But if it's a balloon and you fill it, it will inflate. So you want to feel and you're allowing to inflate. However, it doesn't want to be collapsed. There is always this slight feeling of drawing the perineum up towards the navel, but it's very slight. If we do it too much, if you really sort of almost like pull your perineum right up, you can feel this area tensing up. That's too much. But at the same time, it shouldn't be collapsed, falling forwards. And so the back, change the configuration back. So what can happen is people do this, and the Dantian, the weight is falling out of the body like this. So we're not kind of conscious of it because it's just collapsed. Yeah? And we walk around like this and it feels fine. You know, but when we do Tai Chi, it's like they put this back inside the pelvis. This becomes flatter. And there's a slight feeling of activation. You know, if you let this one fall forwards, you can feel your back muscles. Well, because this is falling forwards, and the back muscles are working to keep you upright. Yeah? And also a bit of tightening. So when we're correct, this can open instead of close. So all these things, anyway, so this is Dantian. And we have this idea of finding Dantian. It's more than just understanding where it is. And it's a mysterious place because it isn't actually an entity. It's an energy field. You know, like the sun has an energy field. Comes right to us in a sense. Yeah. But right round you have a corona sort of thing. Energy field. And so the actual Dantian is very tiny. In fact, perhaps so tiny you can't say it exists. but there's an energy field around it, filling a larger area. And from here, the chi flows around the body, and comes back, both sides, up the back and down the front. It flows around the body, in and out of the Dantian. So when you do the Taoist meditation, you're focusing your mind here. The symbol for it, and the Taoist symbol for it, is a cauldron with a fire underneath it and steam coming out the top. And this represents that the firing process, it's called, is when you correcting your body, correcting your mind, focus, watching the breath here. It's like fires, it's like putting coals underneath the Dantian. And then it produces the steam, which then runs the chi, which runs around the body. That's the symbol they use for it. So Taoist meditation. So in a way, we're always partially, it's not that we neglect the rest of the body, we must feel everything. But putting one's attention here becomes very important, Taijiquan, because we move from here, or we learn to move from here. So they say, find Dantian, move Dantian. So the first movement is horizontal, and we just turn. Remember, it's more, the pelvis is kind of included. Don't forget you've got that slight pulling in. But now, we turn further, we have to try and keep our knees where they are and turn, which means the inguinal crease is closed on one side and then the other side opens. The inguinal crease opens and then it closes. It closes. The abdomen closes, but this side opens. Because your knees aren't moving, if you look at me, you might be able to see this line here. And then here, as it slightly stretches the trousers. Now, the thing about this is, you want to just stay at first totally centered. If you look at the, frame of that thing behind me, I'm not moving. I'm not moving across it. Look at my head, this thing above my head, and I'm just staying here. So my weight may change, but I'm not moving. So there's this idea of an axis. So one thought there was a pole going hammered through the top of the head, the way point, the crown, going down through the mid-dantian, through the lower dantian, through the perineum, or hui yin, into the floor. And this is just an axis on which you turn. So your nose and navel are moving together. The three dantians, the 3 points, are moving together. So you don't want to do this, where the upper body's moving more. So just learning, doesn't matter if it does, but we're learning to make the movements from here. Now, it might be that we more deliberately choose to change the weight. So we take a larger stance, slightly larger stance. In other words, we want to keep these 3 balanced, but we bring the weight more over the right foot. But we're still balanced here. But you can see here, I move towards it now. But I keep this the same. I don't want to move here. I want to keep the 3 in line. And then eventually I can pick up this foot. And then maybe I could lift it up. Put it back. And now I can go across. And then I try, so you can see I've almost completely revealed that thing. And I can pick up the foot and I can lift it up. So if I do that as I turn, you can see it doesn't change as much, but you can see more of the picture, less of the picture. We'll do it from here. Because I'm only doing about 60%. If I did 70%, 80%, you'll see the picture. But notice again, if you see my knees, if you look at the If you can see the line of the gap in the sofa, you can see that's always still between legs. So I'm not doing this. It's always still slightly. So I'm not kind of. Anyway, doesn't matter. It means keep these apart. This is horizontal. Horizontal movement of the Dantian. So you think of the Dantian as a ball. So we might use this in this. So we're turning, we're keeping the three Dantians in line. If you look at the thing above my head, you can see this is always the same place. Or trying to keep the same place. And relax, reverse. So we're trying to feel connectivity. The leg is moving from here to the side. By the way, to turn. You feel eventually the leg is left. You know, more obviously perhaps here. Yeah, and we can do this. From here. So this moves first. Dantian moves and the leg follows. Dantian moves first, not the leg. So when beginners do it, they move the leg like this. And the Dantian doesn't move. So you move your Dantian. You're just trying to train more awareness. Awareness is the key. Yeah? By focusing and moving from Dantian. Later, maybe I could do it like this, and there's hardly any noticeable difference. Yeah? But at first, you definitely want to feel the Dantian moves, or the other way, the Dantian moves, and it moves the leg. Yeah? It moves the leg. Just do this simple one. Return here. And the arms, just the appendages, obviously just hanging heavy, and somehow by moving here. But notice this point's moving. Don't do this, or they twist away. So just focus your mind here, and lower Dantian, Dantian. And relax. Breathe into it. So we're moving meditation now, rather than just standing, doing the same thing. Now we could do different weight changes. So last time we moved the weight this side, but we could move the weight into this side, but turn the opposite way. Sit into the right leg, but turn left. Sit into the left leg. So we let the weight change. Opposed to the movement. So you stop, you've turned right, turn left, your weight's in the right foot. Turn left, your weight's in the left foot. Turn right, the weight's on the left. Or we could do what we did before, and the weight goes into the right foot as we turn right, into the left foot as we turn left. Sometimes we could just keep the weight on one leg all the time. All on your left leg, not changing the weight, or all on the right. So, you know, there's obviously many variations. Well done. Okay, but the Dantian might also move in space backwards and forwards like this. Now, what we put one foot, start with the feet shoulder width, keep that gap between your feet and bring 1 foot forwards. Yeah? Turn the other one out 30 degrees or so. Now, what often happens now is when people move, the hips go, because they move from here, this goes forwards, but the upper body goes back. Or the body leans backwards and forwards like this. So in other words, the 3 Dantians are no longer one above the other. And they want to stay balanced. They stay, the straight line going down through the Dantians remains upright. You're changing the weight. You kind of sit forward, sit back, and the arms, if they're very relaxed, will naturally move a little bit. If we do it quicker, they would move more. Because the body's stopping, the arms are loose, so they carry on going. So we kind of stop, and then we go forwards and stop, and the arms therefore, and we go back and stop. Now, what can happen now is, let's just change the leg actually, just so we do both. Keep that space. So you're trying to keep the 3 Dantians in alignment. Why do we do this? So that this is, for life, when we're walking around, we keep balance. Doesn't mean we can't, we'll look at this in a minute. Doesn't mean we can't bend over. It's just when we're upright, we're upright. Also in this, so what can happen now, let's keep going, is people bring the knee too far forwards. Right? So they do this and the knee goes far forwards. And you don't want to do this. You want the knee to stop so the leg is more perpendicular, not leg is up, lower leg is upright. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is very difficult. But difficult things are good for us. If we're in the front leg, you can see, if I put where the line is in the couch, you can see where my knee is. Now when I come forwards, I'm going to go forwards and take a step. And what can happen is, this happens. The knee goes over here. But what I do is I keep the knee where it is as I peel the foot off, or as much as I can. You can see it goes forwards a little bit, but I keep the knee here and peel off the foot. Yeah? So I'm here, and then I don't bring the knee more forwards. And now I've got all my weight on one leg. Now I can take a step forwards or back, but I'm not moving here. And my upper body, yeah. So we can take a step forwards, and then we can do the same, peel this one up, put it behind, and then sit back into that foot. Checking really, what you're checking is your 3 Dantians are in line. And now once we're here, we can peel off this one, put it behind. Notice here, look, once I've gone back, look at the picture behind. Once I'm here, I'm not moving, not really moving very much here. And then I'm going back. Then I'm not really moving very much. So it's more like sitting. When you come forwards, you sit, but you keep the knee over the foot. Yeah? And you keep your 3 Dantians aligned. Okay, so it's a good thing to practice actually, in your own time. Very slow walk where you concentrate, maybe balance a book on your head or something, or something that won't fall off, a tea towel, and folded up tea towel, just to keep your sense of the head staying up, and then walk and try and keep that feeling of the 3 Dantians. But this is just training. It's training to bring the body towards something that we're looking for, which is a naturalness, a return to naturalness. Because you don't want to walk down the high street like this. In the end, you walk normally, but even in a normal walk, this is what you're doing. You're conscious of these elements that we train in Tai Chi being present. Okay, so we can do a combination, yeah, where we bring the weight back, but turn, Bring the weight forwards, but turn. Sit forwards, sit back. And again, we're trying to use, so this is like going back to when we were doing this. But now we're changing the weight as well, forwards and backwards. Try and keep the 3 Dantians aligned. Another thing that can happen is the shoulders do this. So you want to keep your shoulders level. Turn from in here. Notice my knees don't move. Don't do this. So I'm having to work. I should say it's not something that comes very easily. This relaxation of the guar and the hip to allow you to do this move without moving the leg. Stiffness around this area means that the legs tend to move with the thing. You don't have this. It takes a bit of training. You do your best. On the other side. So this is horizontal. It's obviously horizontal movement. And like before, although we're like this, there's different ways. And remember the same rule, that you sit this knee not coming forwards. Notice the knee doesn't really move. All this one. But the weight's changing forwards and back. Mysterious. So this time, when I went forwards, my weight went forwards, but I could, and facing forward, I could face forwards and then go forwards as I turn. And this is very difficult to stop the knee doing this. So the weight's going front leg, back leg. Sorry. Back leg, front leg. Back leg facing forward, front leg turn. So the weight changes the opposite. Lots of these exercises, very good for you just to practice these. When I first started training, I trained with a Yang style teacher called Richard Druitt. And in fact, he started me off not just on Tai Chi, but on teaching. Many years ago. I started teaching about 40 years ago. I trained with him quite, 5 years, but more than that. I started teaching. Then he left to Puerto Rico, and he was running 3 or 4 classes at the time. And because I was someone that was keen and went along to all the classes, and I had the time, he asked if I'd like to take over the classes, and that's how I began teaching. Since then, I've had many more teachers. Anyway, we used to do those for ages, and this for ages, just doing this. Takes me back. Okay, so the next movement, though, is the vertical movement. Horizontal, now vertical movement. So if we think of a ball, and we were turning the ball like this, like turning the ball like this, ball in here. And now we have to turn the ball like this. Without losing the thing. So this is very difficult at the beginning. So you have to, being balanced in center place isn't about necessarily these 3 being in a line. That was just a natural thing to try and get when we're normal. But when we do things, often we change our posture. We've got to lean over here, got to reach over here, but we check we're keeping as much as we can, like when we do this. So, yeah. So the movement of the Dantian, it's like turning the ball inside you. And it causes this is the front of the ball. You imagine the ball, it's like this, football. And then when I do this, the ball turns, my hand goes down. And when I do this, it goes up. And so the back does the opposite here. But if you look at my legs, there's not much change in the legs. So I'm kind of turning it in here. And when you turn it this way, and the hand comes up, you can feel these muscles tightening. So if you combine it at the beginning with a pelvic floor exercise, you can feel these muscles tightening and these ones at the back lengthening. And when you relax, this goes down again, and this comes in. So it's like more tense at the front, and then relax. But there's a sense of, it's not weak. If I put something on my hand, I could lift it with this movement. You know, if something's pressing on my hand, I could lift it with this movement. Or I could push it down. If there was something pushing my hand up, I could push it down. I can, by manipulating, and this becomes like internal. But notice my posture generally hasn't changed. Yeah, so this is something we gradually train in Tai Chi. So if you can do that already, that would be a very high level, you know, because it's not easy to do that separate. You know, most people will do this, or the legs, you know, to just do this without disrupting. You can see you can see this movement in my body too, but it's not massive. You know? And if I can probably keep my head where it is, and I'm still doing this. So it's the training of moving. It's called vertical movement. But because it's difficult, we do exercises which allow us to get the feeling, which we do a lot in our practice, yeah? Which allow us to get the feeling in an easier way. And that basically means if we have your left foot forward, I keep this knee where it is, and I go down, and I sink, and by sinking, I can get this down, and it squeezes, and then when I come up, and then I open up here, and then this area squashes. So you can see this hand is very obvious, it's going down. But this hand is coming up. And you know, it's opposite, can you see? So this hand is doing upward like we just did, you know, this hand is coming down. So the two meet, and you get a real scrunchy feeling in the thing. Notice my legs don't move. You know? And then when you go up, you stretch this. But again, without doing, you stretch. And then we allow that to come into the chest. So the chest opens. So all this area feels like it's really open in the throat. And then we sink down. And this is closed, and the shoulders closed, the shoulder blades open. You know, when you say open, close, it's a weird thing because one part of the body closes, the opposite. You know, the chest is closing, but the shoulder blades are opening. Here is closing, but the lower back is open. The throat is opening, the back of the neck is closing. So it's giving you a lot of movement in the spine. So we have this movement of the spine. But the legs don't move very much. In fact, they don't have to move. But often we sit down a bit just to get a better feeling. Yeah? When we come up, we want to feel we stretch the abdominal, and then we squeeze the abdominal. Oh, stretch the back with tailbone going down. So a common problem is people do this and stick their bums out. Yeah? You have to keep this. If you look at the line of the wall, you know, the alcove there, and my back's against the alcove here. I don't want to do this. You look, I'm more going down. It's not a big, it does go back, but it's more, yeah, I'm not doing this. So we can exaggerate that with a movement, you know. So as the arms open with the body closed. But we're moving from Dantian. Everything, the message you give is the turn of the Dantian. And then the body moves after the Dantian. So a beginner problem, they move the arms, not the Dantian. So the arms don't move unless the Dantian leads. And then you can train it to lift the arms higher. This is a natural thing in the end. But it's also coming from here. You can lift the arms higher, but it's all coming from exactly the same movement. It's just that at first it's difficult because one hasn't learned to connect, so the arms are separate, and then you can't do the big movement very easily connected. But this is fine because this is how it should be. I mean, I often say to classes when I watch people that, or I ask them to do something, which I know is very difficult. And I say, I hope you don't get it right, because I'd be depressed because it took me a long time to do this, you know. And I've done it for 45 years, you know, I've trained in a long time. So people suddenly do it, I'll give up. Not really. So go down. So the other possible movement is Dantian lifts the arms, like scooping something up. And then when we go up, lifts the arms. Then we move here, back to where we're on the arms. So it's just a bit more sophisticated. It doesn't matter how well you're doing, it's the attempt to do it. You know, this is like anything in learning. As long as you attempt to do it, you'll get there, you know, with most things. Pick up a musical instrument, we can't play it. Do we give up? Well, I might. But people who want to play it, they keep picking it up, and even though they can't do it, they keep picking it up, and eventually they can do it. It's the same thing. First, maybe we notice, like we find it, you know, we get here, and then we feel we just move the arms, and we don't feel that it's connected to here anymore. You know, or going down, we don't feel it's connected to the totally connected. It's like we're moving our arms separately, and this is okay. We feel we're turning in here, and the turning here lifts the arm. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so one has to practice on the musical instrument a lot and to get it, and it's the same as this. You have to practice with the intention, and then you'll naturally find it. Well, it does take a while, and then later we don't need to move in that way. So like if you call this bowing, like we were doing, we're kind of bowing like this, yeah. Bowing, and the back is now bowing, and we can feel it. Yeah, maybe we get used to this, and we feel we're bowing, and then we're bowing and bowing. But later, watch me. We don't bow, but we bow. So this moves, and this moves the hand. So this is much more refined, but your willingness to invest time on that other movement will lead you to this. Yeah? So now this goes up, and then this goes down. Very good. Okay, let's do a different movement. So now we've got going down and up. Same movement. Let's do the same movement. Up. Same movement in the body. Turn Dantian, lift the arm. But now, watch me. I'm going to turn and then combine it with this. So I'm going to turn. In fact, let's do this first. Let's just go left and right. Remember, this was horizontal movement. Horizontal. And then this one was vertical movement. So we want to combine. So let's do a square first. So we can draw, you can see my hands at the top of the screen are drawing a straight line because I'm turning here. Don't overturn like this. You know? I'm just turning. So I could go to the right or left, go to the left, and then go down, but instead of going here, you're now bowing to the side. Now, so you can go down, and then you can go left and right down here, and then up and down, turning down to here. So vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. Look at my knees. Notice I'm not moving my legs. Again, if I put that corner of the chest of drawers, sorry, bookcase, then it's always kind of there. You see it between my legs, it's always there. Yeah, don't go. Okay, so that's a square. Everybody can see we drew a square. I can by having vertical and, oh, like the Pope, vertical, I shouldn't have said that, and horizontal. So if you've got a square, obviously it's not a square, it's more like a rectangle, but it could be a square. If you say it was a square. And this is the top of the square, bottom of the sides of the square. If we cut off the corners, we can get a circle inside, or we could have a square and draw a circle around it. And in Tai Chi, there's an expression: never leave the circle, never leave the square. So we've just learned something about the square, and now we need to keep the square, but do the circle. Watch me. So now I don't just go to the left, it's like left and right. Here's the top, here's the middle of the top line. And then I go down towards the middle of the side line, middle of the bottom line, middle of this. So I'm now drawing a circle from here, not from the arms. You just want to keep the arms relaxed. Later we can be more fluent with the arms, but we just want to feel we can draw a circle, and it's from here. Notice again, the legs don't move, or the knees don't move. So the back bows, we bow. We can go the other way. So this is a very, very good exercise. So now we've combined. So this is the third movement. It's much more nuanced than this. This is like when you first learn a musical instrument, they just want you to play a simple, just get the notes. You're not playing, you're not doing a symphony. You're just doing quite simple, And eventually it's much more nuanced, not as simple. So that's basically the thing. But now, watch me again. Now, when I do this, if you just watch, if I do this movement, you would be forgiven to think that I'm moving my arms like this, because it's difficult to see. But what I'm doing is, I'm bowing. I'm not bowing. I'm bowing, I'm not bowing. So I'm still moving from here. And you could have a go, but it's not so easy. You just use your mind. It doesn't matter if you fail, because you're just trying to do it. You try and keep your feet planted, your knees still, and move your lower spine and your abdomen. It doesn't matter if you maybe go a bit more forwards, because you're training eventually not to go forwards, but it's not so easy. You can do the other side. So these are very standard sort of exercises. If we had a bigger stance, then you can see my arms make more of a lemon shape rather than a circle, because I'm changing the weight. And I'm changing the weight. So bigger stance, more changing over here. The three Dantians are still aligned, but they're moving kind of separate a little bit from each other. They're more, now you've got more like a snake in the spine, not a stiff spine. So in Tai Chi, we're waking up the Dantian. Find the Dantian, move from the Dantian. So this next exercise, you can practice. So the first way of practicing is hold your Dantian and then keep your knees still, but deliberately pull this area. You're pulling this area. Yeah. Pull it, move it without moving your knees. Try and get this to move. And then up and down. Pull it up, push it down. Pull it up. Use your hands to do the movement. And then you can go round like this, pull up, across. And with practice, you get a bigger movement. And feeling, holding on. You're deliberately moving this area around. You can go the other way. And you can use quite a lot of pressure to lift it up, push it. Okay. Eventually, you just keep the hands lightly here, watch me. And then I move the body to move my hand. I'm not moving my hands anymore. I'm doing the same movement. This is a very powerful movement. But you don't need to do it powerful. I'm just saying it because it's your core muscle. You know, when punch in Tai Chi, you do, first of all, you do this movement, and then you come up, and as you come up, you turn. And the weight shifts forward. So from here. So you don't do this. The whole body is from here. So this is what you don't need to do that because we're doing Taijiquan. I'm just trying to explain it. Or if we pull, if you put your hand like this, and we pull, we drop here. So this is now, and then if we push, we do this. So this is what we were doing last week. Yeah. So this is why the open-close universal exercise is so good to practice. So I want to go back to it, but there are different stages of it. Okay. So one would be, watch me, you could bow quite a lot. Yeah, and the hand you move here and this moves the arm. You move here and this moves the arm. And this is beginners, yeah? You feel that the movement here, and you feel your arms push out. Do it with me. You can do it like this, or if you like this. But the same feeling. You do one arm. So this is more forwards, like this. Forwards, it's like pushing something away. You could do it more directly forwards if you want, like this. So you get the feeling, push something directly forwards. Draw in, push up. So here, draws the elbow in. The whole body gets drawn in. And then here, oh. But it's nice to do it slightly to the side. But the same feeling, but slightly to the side. And the elbow's coming in. So you're closing the chest. Closing the chest means your arms, like we do this. Okay, so that again, if you're doing that, that's bowing and bowing. And it's, but still it's vertical. Later, you do less, you bow much less, but you get exactly the same result. You do this, this comes up, and well, you hardly bow. Stay upright, stay upright. The feeling is you move Dantian and everything draws in. Dantian moves, everything goes out. No? And then if we get very good at it, we don't appear to move. The person can't see, and it looks like you're just doing this, but you're not. You now, let's say you've internalized the movement, and the movement's coming from here, or is connected to Dantian, and nobody can see it. So in that sense, the development is, let's say they say, is you start with large movements, you end up with small movements. Or another saying is, small movements are more developed than large movements. Invisible movements are more developed than small movements. So the aim is invisible movement. This shows you've internalized the movement. But for health, it's not going to do that. It's not going to make your health any better doing it invisibly. In fact, you could argue that it's much better to do it for the health more obvious, yeah, because you're getting much better use of the body, you know, for muscle and everything else. So you shouldn't be in a rush to do it, and it's more a Tai Chi thing, you know. So eventually, rather than doing this, it's all here, but it happens very, very quickly. You don't have to do all this. So explain that is difficult, isn't it? Because what am I going to do then? Am I supposed to do it this way or this way? It's always, I asked my teacher, you know, about something a long time ago, another teacher, because he was asking me to do something, but he wasn't, he was doing something else. I said, well, when do I do what you're doing? You're telling me to do this, but you're doing that. How will I know when I can do that and not this? And he said, oh, you'll just know. Okay. But sure enough, it's very difficult to say to someone when you're ready. It's like playing musical instruments. You kind of would know if you connect it, if you got it now. You know now you can be a bit more nuanced in your play or whatever. You know, you would discover something yourself. So trust yourself. But if you're just interested in health, doing a big movement, perfect. You're still training the thing. If you want to develop in that other way, which is more Taijiquan really, but often you see people who they do Qigong, but they don't do Tai Chi Qigong. They just do Qigong, and they'll happily just move their arms around like this because that's what they're told to do, and there's nothing wrong with it. It does them good, but they don't see how we're connecting. Yeah, how we're connecting. Eventually, it all comes from here. I hope that's helped with the understanding. Yeah. Just one last thing. Say we're doing, let's do a wide stance, and we've got pause, weight into the left foot as we turn left. Yeah. Put the right hand out. Yeah, snake, and we turn here. Arm goes down. We turn here. So the arm, all I'm trying to turn it Dantian this way. The arm and hand are moving together, elbow heavy. All the time I move this way, the hands move together. So the Dantian, this is vertical. Now, if you stop here and just rest, you should still have the 3 Dantians aligned with the weight through the middle. And if you turn here and go the other way, you should still have the 3 Dantians aligned. Now, there is more nuance to this. The spine is doing a little bit of this, yeah? But you don't really, in these exercises, want to really concern yourself too much about that. That will come in time anyway. You just want to get the basic turn, weight change, keeping your body, turning Dantian horizontally to move the arm. It's very simple. Keeping level. Don't do this. Don't do this. Keeping that straight line. Keeping what they call center place. Nicely sunk into the posture. And you've got 2 arms. All the time you turn. Imagine a 3rd hand here. And as it turns, you turn here. Don't think about the arms. Just turn. Well, obviously you have to have some understanding of what's happening. You keep your shoulders level and completely relaxed. Keep your elbows heavy. So in the end, there is a little bit of up and down, but this movement happens. But you shouldn't. It's so small. I don't want you to think about it. Having developed the other exercises, you find it naturally. It's like in the Tai Chi form, like we do a Tai Chi form with all these movements, yeah. And for beginners, you just say, well, relax, try and keep a good posture, watch the breath, and just try and get the shapes, you know. And then maybe they get better, and then whenever they do a movement, they're always now in center place, and they're just basically doing turning the Dantian left and right, and relaxing. And the other stuff they will naturally tend to get. You know? So when it comes to exercise, my teachers say, yeah, practice these, but don't think you're trying to do them in the form. When you get good at it's like scales. If this is playing your scales, on a piano or something, and the better you get at it, then naturally your playing will become much better. It's just natural. You know? You wouldn't think about it, but now you would employ it in this early stuff. You would naturally employ it. So when you're doing exercise like this, you should just go for the shape at the beginning, relax, but try and keep the first things first. The essential things. Keep your 3 Dantians balanced. Breathe into your center, relax, get shoulders level, shoulders relaxed. And learn to move everything from down. So when the Dantian moves, everything else moves. Everything moves. When the Dantian stops, everything else stops. So this is how, then you will understand when you get it. It'll be a eureka moment when you'll say, oh yeah, I turn, and then you'll say to yourself, oh, that was so simple. What on earth was I doing before? It's a kind of realization. You go, oh, why was I doing all that other stuff before? It was more difficult than this. We made it more difficult. It was actually quite simple. It isn't. It's easy for me to say it's simple because a long time. But you understand the meaning. It's like riding a bike. Oh, I can't ride it. I keep falling off. I can't ride it. It's very difficult. You ride it. It's very easy. People say they can't ride a bike. You think, well, it's strange because it's very easy. You obviously didn't get back on it when you fell off or something. It's not that difficult. Maybe, but some people may have a balance problem, obviously, and that would be different. Okay. Let's do a close. So this will be vertical. Then this, and then moving from here down. But don't look for it too much. Collecting everything, guiding it down your body is more important. Relaxing, breathe into your Dantian. Then the more you practice, then it will just happen eventually. And then you won't be thinking, about it. It will just do it. You'll just be doing it. Okay.